March 9th, 8th. Just here at the little farm, at the little woodlot, at the little place. There's growing area B and C. With all that lush cover crop. Oh my god, check that out. Oh my god. Oats, vetch, bell beans, can't remember what else. That right there is the site of our next compost bin, which is hidden around the corner. It's built and ready to go. That little patch where there's no grass. Here's the woodlot all covered up for the rain, mostly covered up for the rain. I love the rain. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a rain hater, but and I am very excited for the rainless season. Oh my goodness. It's quite a bit of work to try to keep this material wet. Look at these tarps, they're huge. Some of these tarps are 20 feet by 60 feet and they probably weigh 200 pounds. I can't move one by myself. I can't, when it's all folded up, I can't move it. Jeez Louise. So it's quite a feat unfolding that tarp and getting it on top of a frickin' stack of wood. Oh, thanks for hearing me out on that one. There's our dumpster. We put together this little tent over here in the center there, and that is so that the fellas can still work in the rain, because it's definitely no fun to stack wood in the rain. But you know, the guys were like, hey, we still need to make money when it's raining, bro. And the business is like, hey, the business still needs to chug along. So we put together that tent, and it's working pretty well. It's a bit tough to, it's just tight in there, and it's a bit tough to get the forklift in and out, and units are built in front of each other, but it's okay. Over next to it is the storage area where we store the unprocessed material. And then there's our dumpster, which we've been putting a lot of stuff that we usually were throwing away over to the left there, that little section. And that is for right now our free store. And we have a free wood Craigslist ad, and people have been taking it, which is rad. Because what happens to the stuff that goes in our dumpster, goes to a recycling facility, it gets transferred, then it gets ground up, and I believe it's going to the PG&E power plant and being burned, which is a heavy, not what I want to be happening. So we need to keep as much stuff out of that dumpster as possible. We're working on separating, because we get painted material and pressure treated material. So it looks like we're moving towards having like two dumpsters. One would be for those things which belong in the landfill, some kind of, they should not be mulched and put on the earth, and they should not be burnt. So they need to go, somewhere where they're managing their water runoff and things like this, which these facilities do exist nearby. Then the other dumpster, or like a truck, would would get loaded with the unpainted material, which is all redwood, and that would be chipped, and that mulch can be spread wherever. So that whole plan has yet to be developed, but it is one of the next phases. Anyway, to the left of the free store, which is like 1, 2, 3 stacks wide or so right now, there's the panel section. So that's where we take in fence panels that have not been dismantled, and we dismantle them. Next to that is our truck parking area. The trucks get backed in there. There's a second gate just for the trucks. That is a very sweet thing, kind of a new development, and I really like it. You can see just the back end of our little red trailer, and we have retired the Allison, which is that yellow truck. It's been a couple weeks now, because the Allison runs on gasoline, and the F350 there, the smaller truck, runs on biodiesel. And we are phasing out fossil fuels from our operation completely this year. So that was one of the first steps, was to stop driving that truck. and so that's why the F350 has a trailer that it will pull, so that it has a nice large capacity. That trailer also, we're building a winch and putting a hydraulic system on it, because it's a tilt trailer, so then it could tow vehicles. It could tow our forklifts whenever we need to move them. A small shipping container it could move, things like that. So that's exciting. And then the F350 is also going to get some airbags, because right now the suspension on that little truck does not want to do what we're putting it through. Anyway, in front of that, there's a staging area. There's some units being staged to be shipped out. Then there's a bit of a little storage here. We got these pieces of wood, these long pieces of wood. They're cut-offs from a nearby mill, and they gave those to us. Let's see. And we took them. Free wood. We're suckers for free wood. And there they've sat for a minute and a half. Behind that, the first tree we planted here was a fig tree. Oh my God, there it is. And there's a little area there that's going to be, I'm not exactly sure, but we will grow stuff there. There's a couple little planter boxes which have potatoes growing in them, and I believe I cover cropped those. That's why there's so much grass growing there. Hidden behind a gate. Don't look, it's a porta potty. Oh God, that, besides the fossil fuel use, that thing is number 2. Oh, it irks me. The chemicals, and our waste, just, it truly is waste when we frickin' have a truck come and pump it and take it miles away and mix it with this toxic fucking blue sludge and cart it off to go God knows where. What? Now it's mixed with chemicals? Now what are you going to do with it? Weird people? Anyway, we're looking to, we very much have a plan in place of how to deal with how to process our human-themed, quote-unquote, waste. that little trailer. We got that that old planter box that needs to be either repaired or dismantled. I'm looking towards the latter. I'd almost rather, anyway. Couple roller doors from our old spot. Couldn't resist. Then our IBC totes. There we have some empties, which are either for water or for biodiesel. All the way on the right there is full with waste vegetable oil. And then there's like a rack where they're 3 high over there, and that's where the waste vegetable oil will be processed, and eventually the F-350 will be running on waste vegetable oil. Right now it's running on biodiesel, which, speaking of biodiesel, this truck next to it that says Good Guys Biodiesel has a 1,100 gallon tank in it, which we bought about 1,000 gallons of biodiesel a while back. We're about halfway through it. It was made from waste by a somewhat local fella. He was in California. He is in California. Then there's the culvert. Couldn't resist. See the theme here? Damn it. That thing we're trying to figure out. It was just so cool. You know, do we stand it up and plant stuff in it? Is it a water tank? Is it a bridge? Is it I don't know. Anyway, it's kind of knocking around right now. And I'd be willing to part with it for sure. Then the dump truck seemed like a good idea at the time. Ended up being a money pit. There it sits. Looking to get rid of that. Just got it unearthed, actually. There was all this metal that's on that trailer there. It's all stacked. You maybe can tell there's a trailer there. That metal was all in front of the UD and the dump truck in that little black trailer. This is kind of the project. This has been the junkyard, and it still is. The UD is still yet to be unpacked from our last move, and that truck is in disrepair as well, so I'm looking to let that one go too. Then under the tarp, so this little section really is going to turn into our little store, you know, reclaimed other materials. People can come in. There's some sinks over there. There's an air conditioner for a trailer. There's some water tanks. There's some shingles for a shed. There's some sheet metal. There's some scrap metal. There's some wheels. There's some, you know, all kinds of stuff. Stuff for pumps and chains and tanks and buckets and steps, and, you know, it's a junkyard. And I'm neither proud nor ashamed of it, but a little more proud of it now that I organized it. It's a lot freaking easier to get to, all the stuff. Then we have a bunch of bins that we bought. So there's five dogs on the property, and we were spending a lot of money on dog food. So we ended up buying a pallet of dog food. And at the time we had quite the rat infestation. So we put the dog food in the back of the biodiesel truck because it was thought to be a rat-free zone. It turned out those little people can get in there, and they started eating that thing from, it was like Rat City. They started eating it from the inside out. So we went on Craigslist. Actually, a buddy of mine, anyway, we bought these bins that were from a marijuana grow, and we put the dog food in there. Anyway, so we had to get a minimum, and those bins are very useful for all kinds of stuff. They're also for sale. Then there's the International with some reclaimed windows and some wood leaning up against it. The International was one of the two trucks, the other being the Chevy here, that I started the business with. Inherited from my dad. And there it sits. The brakes went bad. It got into an accident. It's got a brand new rebuilt transmission in it that I put in, and trying to decide if that thing gets parked somewhere or if it just goes away. I'm leaning towards the latter. Then Eric's Chevy, the S10, that's going to get sold. Plan is for the Rabbit to get sold. That's a diesel. It's a pretty sweet little truck. And the RAV4 is going to be sold. I believe that's the plan. Over behind all of that will be the orchard. We have a nice thick cover crop. That has been the lushest area of cover crop 2 years in a row now. The cover crop from last year did reseed itself, which I'm freaking like, oh, permaculture, you know? It's just, if we left, this thing would just keep, the soil here would just keep growing, which is so exciting. And grow it does. We wood chipped, by the way, we wood chipped the whole perimeter when we got here. And that area has really benefited just greatly since we got here. Then there's our compost, our first compost bin, which is this compost number 1, which will feed the orchard eventually, and that has been where our humanure has gone, and all of the plant matter and old vegetables and things that we get from the grocery store and all that. Behind that is like the animal area. That's where the puppies went when Rose had puppies. They lived there because they could not live in my trailer anymore. And that's a bit of a question mark at this point. We're open to rescue animals or, you know, something like that. We're not looking actively. Not really the pet type or that kind of a thing. I mean, other than Rose the D's, but yeah, I think something will just make itself make sense. Some animal somewhere needs a home. Then there's growing area A for Alice, and we put several yards, like truckloads. I use the dump truck to pick up a bunch of mushroom compost back in the day, and unload it there. We have our shipping container, which serves as the kitchen, the galley, if you will, for Jake. It's kind of the communal kitchen space / tool storage. There sits the Chevy. Here's the workshop, toolbox. Here's the Crown with the solar panels on top of it. Some junk shelves. The Crown is the workshop. It's the mobile workshop, hardware store, power plant. The forklift parking area under covers, and in that little thing is the generator. Yard tools go outside of the Dodge RV there. Oh yeah, and the shipping container is also where the freezer and the washing machine live. over here is my little yard. Really lush. I'm so happy about this. Super lush, mallow and stinging nettle and some kind of brassica. I think they're like broccoli. And I think that's some mustard. And that tree is hanging on by a thread. Pineapple guava and tree kale over there. This here is a walnut tree. My house is directly under where I'm standing, and this is where my fireplace comes out. Here. The bathtub will be set up. It's coming soon to a town near you. It's going to be run off of the same hot water heater that's in the shower there. Look at that nice thing. Brother Arrow put that together. Another walnut tree here, another pineapple guava. Here's Arrow's house. What? And then hopping down. So this hot water heater will eventually run off of the biodigester, the gas from the biodigester, because like I said, no petroleum allowed after this year, and the hot water heater currently runs on propane. Then the shower has and we'll have a more developed gray water system that goes that way along the fence, and the bathtub will have a gray water system that goes this way along this fence. Here's my house. Oh.